Hello everyone, it is Kerry with Trail Traveler, and we're doing a series on diesel heaters. These cheaper ones that are out of China now that have just started flooding the market, and we're gonna see if we can make this one a lot quieter. The main source of sound is the ticking from the fuel pump. It's the biggest complaint that you hear about these things. We're gonna see if we can quiet that down. There's some extra noise from the muffler. We're gonna see if we can quiet that down and see if we can make this thing really, really usable out on a camping trip. So we got a handful of different things that we're gonna try. Some of them might work, some of them might not work, but we're doing it so that you don't have to, and maybe we can make this thing as quiet as possible and you can learn as we go along and try and make this thing ultra quiet. Well, if that's even possible, I don't even know. So, but we're gonna try and we're gonna do the best we can. So let's get going. Okay, first up, we have this molded rubbery cover, and it claims that it's going to reduce the sound and the vibrations. It seems like it will pretty much fully enclose the pump, and it is a good fit on the stock pump here. You know, the theory being that, you know, if you can isolate the sound, you know, that'll work. And so there's a possibility that it might do something, and if it works, you know, this was about $9, so could be a good solution, again, if it works. I would suspect, though, if this was like a fantastic solution, everybody who talks about diesel heaters on YouTube would say, go out and buy one of these. And I've not seen a single video on it. So I figured I would be the one to give it a try, waste my money on it, and see what happens. Well, let's give it a shot. All right, so now we've got the rubber-ish, silicone-ish type cover over the fuel pump to see if the claims of it reducing the noise are valid. And while it's sitting here priming, I gotta say, this thing is loud. Right now, I'm not impressed at all. It doesn't seem to have done anything, and in fact, I would say it almost seems to make it louder. It's just kind of reverberating through this hard shell. If this would have been more of a soft silicone or a TPE, maybe that would have worked better, but this material is just really hard. So I just don't see this doing anything. Now we'll go ahead and let it come up to speed and see where it's at, but I gotta say, I mean, I'm gonna put it on the number 3 setting. I don't think this is the one. If you're hoping that this is gonna be a huge reduction in sound for $9, no, I don't think this is it. Okay, now it's slowing down because of the number 3 level setting that it's on, and this thing is just whacking away like crazy. This absolutely did not do anything, and I wish I had a really good decibel meter here, because I swear that this is louder than it was without it. It's just knocking around inside this thing. Not a good call. This is a not recommended solution for trying to fix any noise. Let's move on to the next one. So next up, we have this damper. And the way this should work is it should go after the pump, so that when those hits from the piston going smack, this should take up some of that load and in theory quiet it down. Now actually, this is a cheap knockoff. This is about $9 on Amazon, and there was a version of this almost identical to it, and what this was based off of, that was on the original Webasto fuel pumps. So you would think that if a company like Webasto put these on the original diesel heaters, that this actually might be a good option. So we'll get her installed and we'll see what happens. Okay, we have the damper on here, and one of the first problems I'm running into is space. There just isn't a lot of room to have this inside. Now I'm using the standard hose that came with it, if you can see here. So this is kind of long. I could probably shorten this up a little bit and try and get it to fit in here. But these things were just really not made to be modified. And right now we don't even know if this is going to be worth it. If it is, great. I'll figure out a way to make this work. If it's not worth it, well, time to move on to the next one. But let's let it warm up and see what she sounds like. Okay, we've started the primer phase. And I will say that, I mean, it's loud, but it's significantly quieter than anything else I've tried so far. I'm actually kind of curious to see what this will sound like when it settles down into the run mode. But right now, I mean, that definitely made a big difference. It's more of a plasticky click than that hard metal whack that we were getting before. So we're gonna see. Now I'm looking in the hose. I see a lot of bubbles here, a lot of aeration. I don't know if that's gonna clean up as it starts running, or if this will even prevent it from running properly. I mean, there's a lot of questions here that I don't have answers to, and seeing the bubbles in here, it's not really a good sign. But we'll have to see if it starts pumping fuel when it starts going. Okay, we're in the run state. Again, we're on level 3, and I'll say this has made a difference. Is it quiet? Is it silent? Absolutely not. Is it quieter? Yes. And so that's a step in the right direction. Perhaps it may take more than one thing. And I knew that going into this, that it might take a couple of different procedures or techniques or modifications to get it as quiet as absolutely possible. And right now we're only focused on the noise from the fuel pump itself versus the overall noise, the exhaust noise. And I still have a few tricks up my sleeve to try and get this to be quieter. But this did actually make a noticeable difference. Still, it's too loud, but perhaps this, in conjunction with some other techniques, that might be the winner. Let's keep trying. Well, next up is going to be the most extreme change we're going to do to try and get this thing quieter, and that's actually replacing the fuel pump itself. Now, this one is available on Amazon. I'll have all the links below. And so again, some videos, they're like, oh, this solved everything. Others are, it made a little bit of a difference. It is it's a direct plug-in for the original. It's slightly different design, but overall should be the same thing. So we'll get this one up and running, and we'll see how it goes. So now the pump has got primed, and it's going to start priming the heat exchanger. And this thing is significantly quieter. I mean, I hear more exhaust and blower sound than I do this fuel pump. That's pretty impressive, I would say. And I think once I had this sealed up, you probably wouldn't even hear that. So in terms of how well one of these modifications has worked, this is by far the best solution so far. I mean, we're cranking up the speed. It's putting out more fuel. It's going to go into the heat mode in a moment. And I've got some warm air coming out right now. Let's see what the heater's doing. Okay, it's still on the ignition phase. It's really pumping out some diesel right now through the hose. So what should happen next is once the fuel delivery is all primed and everything's working, then we should hear everything slow down. So the pump is slowing down, the blower is going down, it just went into heating mode. Great, we got hot air coming out, and we have a very, very low tapping sound from this pump. Now, is it quiet? No. Quieter? Absolutely. Which just means that anything else we do is going to have a much greater impact than having stuck with the original fuel pump. So I think I'm going to go from here, and the next step is going to be to add some sound insulation around the fuel pump itself, as well as to the case. So maybe inside of these areas here where it's just exposed to the outside, and inside the case, so when the case goes on, there's some sound deadening material on there as well. And I think this being the case, and this thing being as quiet as it is, I think we might be able to build ourselves a super quiet diesel heater. Let's get her shut down. Let's try the next step. Okay, well now you see that the pump is wrapped in this material, and what I have is ag sound, and it's supposed to be a sound deadening material. And what I'm hoping is that by wrapping the fuel pump with the material, that we cut down the sound even further. Now this is the aftermarket fuel pump that was already quieter, so now we're going to see if this makes a little bit of improvement. If so, then we're going to use this on the inside of the case. We'll just go ahead and line this with the material as well and see just how quiet we can get this. So let's wait for it to fire up. Let's see what she sounds like. Okay, it's a little bit better. It's not completely silent, and it's not a massive improvement, but I do still think that it is a little quieter. So next, we're going to go ahead and line the case, get that on here, and then I think what we're going to find is one of our louder sounds is going to be from the muffler, and we have a solution for that too. So now that this thing is really settled down, that's not bad. And if I kind of cover it, yeah, you can. It's not bad at all, but still not as quiet as we want. So let's get that case lined and let's see how it works. So we took the ag sound material, we put it in the inside of the front, the inside of the back, and we've lined the inside of the case. And I did cut out openings on both sides so I can see the fuel level. That's kind of important. And we're going to see how quiet this thing is. Hopefully, we're going to have a winner here, and then the only thing left to deal with is the exhaust sound. So we're just going to wait for it to prime up, get ready. We got our fingers crossed. It's settled down into the level 3 setting here. It is substantially quieter than it was when we started. Fresh out of the box, it was pretty loud. Now, don't get me wrong, that's fine for a lot of people. Whether this is in a garage or a workshop or a shed, you know, a small room, something like that, that ticking sound is not an issue at all. It's, for us, we're outdoors, we're in the woods, we're in the mountains, we're in places where we want to not hear anything. So the quieter that we can make this, the better off we're going to be. We're going to sleep better. We're not going to be disturbed by the sound. And so for the people who are camping and overlanding with something like this, the quieter you can make it, definitely the better off you are. Now I think, even though I'm standing right next to it, I mean the microphone is about a foot away from that fuel pump, you can hear it. Once we're up in our tent and it's all closed up, I don't think we're going to hear this thing at all. Now, we do have some exhaust. It's kind of a low rumble. It's not obnoxious. And considering the sound of the blower, I don't really think that that's a big deal. But we do have what they claim is a quieter muffler. So let's go ahead and give that a try. And also, since that damper actually did seem to make an improvement, we may go ahead and install this as well and see if we can get it even quieter. So let's go get the other muffler on and see if we can tell a difference. Just as a comparison, this is the original muffler. This is the new and improved muffler that you can get on Amazon. Again, I'll put all these links below so you can find stuff easy. If you look in here, you see straight through this, and there's just like a big spring in it. So I don't really think it's doing much in terms of cutting down the sound. This one actually weaves through here with a bunch of holes, so hopefully this one will make a difference. Let's get her installed and see what she sounds like. We're up and running and we're at speed, and we've got the new muffler on here. And yeah, it's quieter for sure. Again, not a massive improvement. The main sound is the blower, so that's pretty good. But I think just for the sake of completeness, we should go ahead and put the damper on there, see if we can get it even quieter. Well, I think we've got ourselves a winner. The upgraded fuel pump with the damper, everything's working. The muffler is a little bit quieter. Just make sure we're on level 3 here. And we're up to 151 degrees inside. Things are looking pretty good. Let's check the app. Make sure everything's looking good. Okay, it says internals are at 126 Celsius and slowly moving their way up. Let's go ahead and kick this thing up to level 8. You'll hear it start spinning up. I don't hear the fuel pump at all. The only sound is the blower. It's moving up, 132. Well, we are kicking out some hot air here. Let's see where we're at. 220 degrees inside. Looking good. Do you hear a fuel pump? I don't. Let's come down. Muffler, pretty quiet. I don't think there's going to be any way, or nothing obvious off the top of my head on how to quiet the blower motor. Not sure what I can do about that. Maybe if I had a vent on here and I ran a pipe somewhere else, maybe it would quiet it down right here. Not sure. Yep, 222 degrees inside. Yeah, that's as quiet of a Chinese diesel heater as you're gonna get. There is no sound from that fuel pump. A little pricey, right? I mean, you're gonna be almost 75 bucks for the two pieces. I'll put the exact numbers here on the screen so you can see them again, but not, not bank breaking, but if you're trying to get this thing as quiet as possible, I mean, that's my solution right there. We got the upgraded fuel pump, we've got the damper on there, we've got it all wrapped in ag sound, and we have the case lined with ag sound, and it's working beautifully. 176 degrees or 176 Celsius, still going up. Yeah, 250 degrees on the output. I really couldn't be happier. I think we're ready to go camping. Let me crank this back down. So my guess is that once we have the tent heated up, we're probably going to be running it on about a 2 setting. So I've just lowered it to that 2 setting, which I think is going to maintain the temperature inside the tent. And now, because the blower has slowed down, I can barely make out the sound of the fuel pump in there. Nothing I'm going to hear from inside the tent. Like I said, I'm standing a foot away from it and I can barely hear it. And I'm in the garage, so sound is echoing in here. If we were outside, the only sound you're going to hear is this air blowing. So that's my take on making the quietest diesel heater you can. Hope this was worthwhile. Hope it's going to save you some money by not going with junk parts, trying to spend all kinds of time trying to deal with the original fuel pump. The fuel pump, the damper, the soundproofing. I think we did it. So thanks for watching, everybody. Please like, share, and subscribe. I know that's so cliche, but it really does help the channel. It gets the algorithm going. It helps YouTube to promote this to other people. So I really appreciate it when you like them, you share them, and you subscribe to the channel. And if you really want to support us in another way, you can use the join button down below. It's just a couple bucks a month. Really helps us out in paying for our fuel costs and things. And those members now get early access to all the videos. So everything that we put up, you're going to see a few days in advance so that you can comment on it, be the first to comment. And if there's something wrong, I kind of rely on the community sometimes to help me point something out, and I might have to redo a piece of the video. So thanks for watching. Thanks for joining. Thanks for all the support out there. We really appreciate it. From Katarina and myself, stay safe out there and warmer. We'll see you on the trails.